Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. My name is Sadiq Abdul Malik. What I'm intending to do right now is to try to draw on the truth that people of opposite viewpoints can agree upon. I'm going to use the testimony of the scholars of Christianity that will make a case by their answers for the absolute truth of Al-Islam among the scholars of Christianity, distinguished professors, chairmen of departments, men who have achieved the highest scholastical accolades and who have written various books and who are well respected throughout the United States and in fact throughout the world. Men who are quite active in the endeavors that they pursue, and are men who are very, how should I put it, universally distinguished. The Quran says, in dealing with this, it says in Surah 41 verse 53, "We shall soon show them our signs in the universe and inside themselves, until it will become clear to them that it is the truth. Is it not sufficient as regards to your Lord that he is a witness over all things?" This is Surah 41 verse 53. In Surah 27 verse 76 it states, "Verily the Quran explains to the children of Israel most of the matters in which they disagree." I'm going to put that into great use right now, that divine truth of the Holy Quran, and I will now contact this professor, very distinguished, extremely distinguished professor who has gone throughout the world in his role as a professor, a lecturer, and a person who engages in debate as a person involved in Christian apologetics, and I will call him now. We've had a conversation before. It didn't start out too good at first, and then after a while it leveled off to something very good and very respectful. Apologetics, the nature of apologetics, you know, when you're talking about religion, at some point could get very heated, and he at one point, for some reason or another, became kind of agitated. But anyway, I'll call him now. Yes, hello, Professor. Hopefully when you receive this message, everything is well with you and well with those whom you love. I had a very nice time talking to you the last time, and I'm glad we arrived at the position that we arrived at, where we were cordial to each other, and that's very important. And so, in that vein, I also would like to remind you that you said that you would bring this former Muslim who studied at Azhar to speak to me. I'm looking very much forward to speaking to him, so please call me, have him call me at his nearest convenience. And also I would like to put a question too, if you can give me a call. I have one question that I need for you to answer if possible, as I will find that to be very helpful. So having said that, God bless and have a very nice day. So that's the second call. I made 2 calls and both professors have not been there. I will deign to call another professor. It's kind of late right now. Most of these professors by this time leave. And so let me make another call. Hopefully I'll reach somebody. Let me call his brother that works at the very same college. Let me see if I can get a phone number for him. No, he doesn't have a number. Let me call someone else. Another one who had a very, how can I say it, very vigorous conversation with. And I'll call this professor right now. He's at the same college. Let me see.
Seminary. If you're calling for information about special events, dial 240. For general information about the seminary, dial 216. For Joan in the business office, 206. Christina in the president's office, 201. The registrar. Please hold a moment.
I gotta go.
Hello, this is Daniel.
Yeah, hello, Professor Janicek.
Yes,
How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay.
This is a person who has spoke to you one time before. I hope you remember my name is Malik, and I hope what we talked about in the conversation that we had wasn't at all offensive to you or made you angry. That was not my intent. I just wanted to seek to learn by getting answers from a person like yourself who is very well accomplished in, as far as scholarship goes. And so I, in no way, shape, or form meant to in any way to be antagonistic toward you or to be a cause of anger for you.
Well, I had a number of thoughts from that time, and my main thought was that, Malik, you really need to come back to Christ. So I'm calling you back to Christ, the one who is the true peace, the one who is the resurrection and the light. And I think you know that down deep, and if indeed he rose from the dead, then he verified that he was who he said he was. So you called me to Islam, I'm calling you back to Christ, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
Well, I'm happy that I guess you got the message that I left. I forgot what message I left that day that we talked. And so I guess it had to do with calling you to Islam. And I respect that. Both religions are two religions. They call people to mercenary in nature. They call people to follow them. As Muslims, our proof and our basis of religion is that we establish the God upon whom all have established as God and upon whom all have submitted their will to. And we see Jesus Christ as being a great example of one who submitted his will to God. And my questions to you were based in establishing whether Jesus Christ showed in Old Testament verses, for instance, that he showed any autonomy or equality or any lack of accountability to God where he acted completely as an equal to God. And your response to me was what it was. I don't think that you had made that case. I don't think no Christian has ever made it because it doesn't exist within the Old Testament, where the Messiah acts as an individual or as a person equal to God without accountability, who has the power to abrogate and or change law, and who acts completely autonomous without any accountability to God. The Old Testament record The Old Testament record begins to speak that he is. But I have one question for you, and I have to go because I make this call just as an to kind of apologize and to hopefully continue this dialogue. And so the question I have, if you can answer it, is this: can you give me any information? Yes, sir.
That I have the final word.
Sure. I'll do that. My wife says that I don't do that with anybody, but I'll do that with you. I give you my word. And here it is. Here's the question. Is there any place that you can get me a secular information? Because I don't see this within the Bible. Any information that states outside of the Bible, biblical record, where there is a recorded historical document and or statement that states that the firstborn of Israel, that's stated in the Bible, the killing of the firstborn of Israel by Herod the Great, that this was documented either by Roman sources, by Greek sources, by Persian sources, or by Jewish sources, that actually in fact happened. And secondly, is there, if you can give to me, any proof of any secular writing outside of the Bible that states that on the day that Jesus Christ was crucified, that they in fact witnessed an eclipse of the sun, an earthquake, the dead coming out of the ground, and the sick being miraculously cured? I'm asking for any secular. But on the second one, what I'm saying on the second one is that you know about earthquakes and eclipses of the sun. These are things that have a certain science to them, where they are felt and identified, and where they are shared by a group of people throughout a range of distance. An earthquake and a eclipse of the sun. Now, both these things are considered back in the old days, in the ancient days, as acts of God, and many of them were recorded. In fact, way before Christianity, the Chinese were recording earthquakes. So I'm asking if you can give me any secular information testifying to those two things.
Hold on a second. Okay. I had somebody walking by my door.
Yeah, I know you're a person. You're busy. You got to be busy.
Yeah. There are some secular authors that talk about Christ in a number of ways and testify to various things that you're talking about. And there is one of that time who mentions the earthquakes and the phenomena. But in that same vein, when you look at ancient history and you compare that with Islam 600 years later in the full light of history, so to speak, you don't have anything that marks Muhammad until 691 AD written down in Arabic. So if you're going to ask me about ancient documents, there are far better sources that testify to the existence of Jesus Christ and the crucifixion of Christ in the first century of that time period than there would be in the first 150 years of Muhammad, because you don't have anything even biographical until Ibn Ishaq, who died in 767, and his works are not even around until you get to Ibn Hisham in 820. So you're looking at 820 for the first biographical information of Muhammad. And so right there, if you're going to compare apples to apples, that's almost 200 years after the death of Muhammad, when you have the first biographical information of Muhammad.
Well, I want to talk to Robert Spencer. I'll talk to Robert Spencer. Robert Spencer's latest book, which is a farce. First of all, he doesn't understand that in Islam, from the very beginning, the action of writing down information and the action of memorization, not to mention the fact that to say that 50 years after Muhammad, in fact, during the life, right after the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, already there was an author citing hadith immediately after him, and I will get you that information. As far as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's existence,
The hadith was not written down until the 9th century.
Okay, I will get you the exact. I will get you the exact. I will call you back. I will leave you the information on your cell. on your machine so that you can look it up with the verifiable sources so that you can see that already hadiths were being written immediately after the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in that case, if we're going to say something like that, you know for a fact that you have no information on Jesus Christ from the ages of 6 months to 27 years old. And I mean, you know, Robert Spencer seems to have lost his mind that he's making people go to this kind of thinking. But the thing what I'm asking you is, please, could you answer the question? Because you can't answer a question with a question. I'm asking you, is there any secular sources that relate to an event which is shared by a space of people and time and experience, which is an earthquake and a eclipse of the sun, that if anyone wrote it simultaneously on that day, that they experienced an eclipse of the sun and an earthquake, which again has a wide range of experience. An earthquake can only be measured after it is 3 point something on the Richter scale. For one to call something an earthquake means that it was felt, and if it was felt, it had to be felt over a long range of miles by a great amount of people of diverging places. As far as the eclipse has a penumbra and a numbra, which means that it also has a mileage by which people experience it. So what I'm asking you is there anyone anywhere who wrote that they experienced an earthquake and an eclipse of the sun simultaneously at the same time? Or any Roman soldier that said, or any Jew that said he saw one of his family members rising from the dead and going into Jerusalem? I think that these things